up, guys? Welcome back to the weekend edition. It's Rustic here, and we're going to be taking a look at Tesla's chart today. We're going to look at where price came from, where price ended on Friday, and where price is likely to head tomorrow and into the rest of the week. Before we get started, don't forget to check out the links in the descriptions below. There's links to the Rawstocks trading Discord, where you get options callouts by me, none other than Rustic. There's also a link to the Traders Helping Traders Discord, and there's a link to Top Step if you're brave enough to try to take on a funded futures combine challenge. See if you can earn yourself a futures funded trading account. All the links are in the description below. Let's jump into the charts. So you can see on the chart here, we have this order block that we saw a reaction to, and we've been talking about that order block being at this previous low back from April 25th. You can see that we came down, typical of an order block. We see an initial reaction, right? We rallied off of it just a few days, saw a gap down, and we ultimately pushed up a little bit, but would expect us to dig back down into this order block just a little bit further, run this last bit of liquidity out that's at these lows from March 15th and March 14th and March 15th. Dig into that order block, potentially see a little bit of a bounce there, maybe taking this high from last Thursday, and then we have that daily fair value gap. Now, I'm not necessarily expecting this to just flush down into like the 140s or 130s even, but I am looking for this to come back down into this order block. Nothing says we have to, right? We could see this come down, right? Push down here. We'll catch a fib level right here where you could look to take an entry. We did trade down into that optimal trade entry range, which could have been a great opportunity to go 2, 3, 4 weeks out on a long and see if you can set your stop loss at that previous low. And then if you were taking that trade, you'd be looking to rally up into the daily fair value gap. But if that doesn't happen, we're coming down to take this low. Then I expect that we'll make a push up towards this fair value gap. But we'll see how Tesla behaves during the rest of the week. You know, if the market starts rallying, Tesla's been kind of in an inverse situation where a lot of times we see SPY, QQQ, NVIDIA, some of the other stocks going up, Tesla falling, and then when the other stocks are going down, Tesla's rising. So it's got a little bit of an inverse correlation going on right now with the rest of the broader market. But if we drop down into the 4-hour chart, 4-hour chart has some additional things to add. On the 4-hour chart, we have a bearish fair value gap that came off. If you notice on the 4-hour chart, which was not apparent on the daily chart, on the 4-hour chart, we got a large displacement candle, right? We saw displacement to the upside, came up, we set a high, took some liquidity. Now we've seen displacement to the downside. Now we're just running a test on that displacement and see if we get that further push down back into this order block that we were talking about. So 4-hour chart starts to give us a little bit of a better picture. Here we're, back here, March 4th, we saw a bearish displacement here. We saw a nice bearish displacement here. Typically when we see the displacement, we will continue to move in that direction, whether it's aggressively or, not aggressively, not so aggressive, but more subtle. But right now we saw that displacement and then kind of running a test. So we'll be looking for additional selling sometime into next week. Doesn't mean we don't run up maybe into Monday. There is a fair value gap here on the 4-hour time frame as well. Maybe we trade up there, take that candle, pop up, and then drop down into that order block. But definitely looking for price to trade back into this order block and dig a little bit deeper into that liquidity. 152, 153, maybe even a wick into 150 would be nice. Something tells me though that it does look a little obvious. People think maybe it's going to just dump down into it. So we might see a little bit more of a push up, and then when it's kind of least expected, see that dump down into that order block. Bait some bears first. Then bait some bulls on the move up and then just drop it down again. So we'll see. We could get, early rally kind of up to take some of this buy side liquidity. Again, test these wicks here. Maybe, I doubt it, but maybe even draw up to, the 185. I know we were watching for 180 last week. 180 came, but it came during pre-market, so we weren't able to take advantage of the short there. But it did end up dumping down from that 180 mark that we were looking for, which had been a consequent encroachment of a block. And then, it caught the sell-off right at that 180 level. You can see here we got pre-market level, high 190, so we almost got up to that 180 mark during pre-market before we saw that flush. So definitely a good target there, but now I'm looking for consequent encroachment of this order block, which is 156, 85, 157, we'll call it, something like that. If we drop down into the 1 hour chart, on the 1 hour chart, we also see multiple signs of displacement. We have not taken the full sell side liquidity, so we have not seen the buy side of the curve turn into the sell side of the curve fully. And we will be looking to take these lows, right? We saw this low here. We saw a double bottom look. We saw displacement to the upside, right? Correction back up. That's as high as we got. Then we started getting displacement to the downside, right? So displacement, second leg of distribution here, right? Reaccumulation. Looking for distribution to take us back down to 156. That will complete the market maker sell model here from buy side to the sell side of the curve as we take that low back at 160. So 1 hour chart, we also have a bearish breaker block that we'll be looking to test, see if it mitigates price. If we run up into that breaker block, looking to see how it reacts to that, right? Does it get the consequent encroachment, roll back over? Does it end up breaking up through? If it breaks up through, we're going to that fair value gap above, we're going to the liquidity above, and then potentially even all the way up into the 185 to 190, of this daily fair value gap. So first indication is this breaker block going to hold. We also got a bearish fair value gap here if you were to mark that off on your 1 hour chart as well. So a couple different like resistance areas. We're currently inside that, and that bearish fair value gap lines up with that bearish breaker block. So if we end up just coming up right to that level where they intersect, could see price push there and then start to dump down at that point. But if we close that 1 hour bearish fair value gap, got to get through the breaker and then back up here to the 4 hour fair value gap, and beyond that it's just wicks and liquidity pools all the way up to that daily larger daily bearish fair value gap. Then if we jump over into the 15-minute time frame, the 15-minute time frame just kind of shows that late day, kind of melt up situation after we sold off, kind of hit around lunchtime, or no, not even. That's like first thing in the morning. Just kind of rallied up on Friday, and then we just saw us kind of like crater here, or consolidate and just go back and forth. Kind of into the end of the day. We did see, a little bit of a PM sell-off that immediately ripped back up. And so with that, you kind of get like these gamma squeezes, short coverings also at the end of the week, depending on, where the market makers are sitting with their hedges. Sometimes they got to start covering. And so you start to see those gamma squeezes and those coverings happening, which can just drive price higher. And I think not only on Tesla, but we saw it on some other assets as well. Same thing, 15-minute fair value gap too, right here inside a bigger fair value gap. We've already closed that one. There's currently this one that sits right up here at the 1 hour breaker intersection with the 1 hour fair value gap. So we don't need to mark that off as well because it's inside of there, but high confluence in this area around 171 up to 171.75 or so. 172. So definitely looking for price to kind of push up there and then see a negative reaction. Now, if we start to sell off first, we may not get down to take the 165 early in the week. We might see a sell off early, pop back up, try to attack some of the buy side targets, then see price dump and roll over. So we'll be watching Tesla very closely. Then on the 5-minute chart, just gives us a better look at what happened on Friday. You can see before market even opened here. Where's market open? There we go. Before market even opened, we saw a sell-off. We saw price come down, grab the liquidity, start to push back up, right? You get this kind of inverted head and shoulders look. You also get a shift of character or market structure shift here. Then you see using smart money concepts, get a high and a low, come back down, optimal trade entry, right, to symmetrical swing. Didn't quite get to full two standard deviation extension. Definitely did get to symmetrical swing though, so nice trade if you were able to identify that, kind of coming out of the gate from pre-market low, you know, to the retracement right at open. We get a second run back into that same general area, leaves a nice liquidity pool, so I do anticipate we'll come back to take that liquidity that sets in these wicks and sets in these wicks as far as sell side liquidity goes. So hopefully that's been helpful for you guys today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with all your friends. And don't forget to watch the weekend update on the other assets that I'm going to be covering. I'm going to be doing, from now on, Tesla standalone videos. And then we're going to be covering SPY, QQQ, NVIDIA, and some others, kind of in a more broad terms as far as like daily or hourly charts. But if there's ever any requests as far as like you want me to go more in depth on a particular asset, might start doing that with NVIDIA a lot. There seems to be a lot of attention with NVIDIA. A lot of people are looking for that 1,000 level, so I might start, you know, do like SPY, QQQ, and then dig in a little bit deeper on NVIDIA. So we'll see. But anything, any suggestions you guys have, don't forget to leave it in the comments. Happy to cover whatever is beneficial for you guys. And until next one, we'll see you guys in the trading rooms.